Okay, so today is Go Math Unit 8, Lesson 5, and we're talking about equations. So we're taking variables, which are things that we don't know yet, and we're putting them into models of some kind of a number model, and we're solving for what's missing. All right, so yesterday we had really looked at inverse operations and adding and subtraction. So if they had something like d plus 5 equals 12, what plus 5 equals 12? Well, I would do the opposite. Instead of adding 5, I can subtract 5. And I get d equal to 7. Go back and check your work. 7 plus 5 equals 12. I know that I'm right. So same with addition and subtraction. What happens with inverse operations today? We're going to continue solving equations, but it's going to be with multiplication and division. So let's not make it any more difficult than it really needs to be. It's the exact same thing that we've been doing up to this point, right? But we're going to take, let's say, 2 times t equals 28. Just like I did yesterday with my addition and subtraction, I'm going to do the inverse operation. So instead of adding, I would subtract. Instead of subtracting, I would add. Now instead of multiplying t times 2, instead of multiplying by 2, I can divide by 2. And every fraction is a division problem. And I end up with t equal to, what's 28 divided by 2? 14. Let's go back and check our work. Is 2 times 14 28? Yes, it is. I know that I'm correct. Okay, so we have a subtraction. What if I had a division, right? Let's do 21 divided by x equals 3. Keep it fairly simple. 21 divided by x equals 3. All right, well, boy. Instead of dividing, I could multiply over here, and I get 21 equals 3 times x. And then instead of multiplying, instead of dividing here, I would multiply. Instead of multiplying, I would divide. 21 divided by 3, x equals 7. Go back up here. 21 divided by 7 is 3. Yes, it is. Let me rearrange that so it's not quite as jumpy. So what if I had 32 divided by, let me just come up with a different solution here. So x divided by 4 equals 8, right? It does make a difference when you have x, because remember with associative and commutative properties of multiplication, I can flip-flop those numbers. With division, I really can't, so I would have to solve 2 steps. So I'm trying to clear that up a little bit. So if x divided by 4 equals 8, instead of dividing by 4, I would multiply by 4, and I get x equals 8 times 4, which is 32. Check your work. Is 32 divided by 4 8? Yes, it is. All right, so inverse operations, what does it look like in your book? They would ask you for algebra tiles to model the equation, model 3x on the left rectangle. So I can do that with algebra tiles, and it's going to be 3 of these and 15 in the right rectangle. I'm going to make circles because it's a little quicker. 15. All right, so what I want to do now, if you're somebody who likes the algebra tile model, that's not a problem. Put these into groups to match this, right? I have 1 of these equals 5 of those. And I have that in 3 different groups. So x equals 5. Now, what does that look like in the number model? We end up with 3x, or 3 times x equals 15. Well, instead of multiplying by 3, I would divide by 3, and I end up with x equals 5. Double check your work. Does 3 times 5 equals 15? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So again, if you're using algebra tiles and you want to draw this, draw out your tiles, and then you're just dividing them into groups, or you're multiplying them out that way. So if we're doing this equation, which is 2x equals 6, if I'm algebra tiles, I would do 2x's equals 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I've grouped them already because I kind of see ahead here. I get x equals 3, x equals 3. Make it into equivalent, x equals 3. If I'm over here, 2 times x equals 6. So I'd ask myself, instead of multiplying by 2, of course, I want to divide by 2, and I get x equals 3. Go back and check your work. Does 2 times 3 equal 6? Yes, it does. So inverse operations for 8, 5, excuse me, is the exact same thing that we have been doing with addition and subtraction. Now we're just adding multiplication and division. So in other words, whatever they're asking you to do in your equation, you just flip to do the opposite to both sides, and you'll find the missing value.